One thing that I really loved about this movie is just the depth of the socio-political conversation regarding Wakanda's borders. And that in mind, I was curious if you were a Wakandan citizen, knowing what you do about the world, how you would feel about that policy.
We had long conversations about what Wakanda is facing and how we feel about it, because it's so relevant to the real world.
I think I'm a man of both sides.
Wakanda seems to operate on its own, which is quite unusual. But it has to deal with the moral dilemma of whether or not, you know, others who are suffering and struggling, whether we're supposed to be able to aid them.
To a certain degree, you know, what some people in Wakanda are espousing is that isolationist, more Trumpian policy of no, just keep it to ourselves. We know there's poverty and tribulation just outside our borders, but if we open up, then we're going to get diluted, or you know, people are going to take what we have. That is, from a human perspective, totally understandable, because every human being wants to look after themselves and every human being puts themselves first. Then it's just a question of how far down the rung do you put other people, you know, because everyone else is second for everybody. I mean, let's be honest about it. Everyone puts themselves first, but it either means you don't care at all about other people, or you just care about other people slightly less than you care about yourself.
Wakanda is an enclave where, you know, the mountains sort of protect it, nature protects it, and the idea of the borders being protected, it's just part of what, you know, God intended, because we were put here.
I see the validity of each argument, and it is really a conundrum, right? Like, how do you keep yourself intact and also share?
You know, we've only been exposed to, you know, isolationism, and let's keep ourselves to ourselves and only protect ourselves and forget everyone else out there and let them destroy themselves. Or we want to share ourselves with the world, we need resources, so let's go out and conquer and, you know, use violence, use, you know, all these isms to like control people and take what they have.
Tradition has proven, especially because of the history of Africa with colonialism and slavery, that in this specific case, it's best for us to be hidden.
It's an absolute conundrum, and one that, but I do think at the end of the day, it becomes an outdated structure to live in isolation.
I mean, I would feel that they have to be inclusive with the rest of the world, and in order to truly have a perfect ecosystem on the planet, you have to be able to interact and allow certain exchanges.
I think a really strong thing that this film does is it doesn't actually present a solution or an answer to that question. I think it continues the discussion.
Lots of places in the world are debating about what citizenship means, what it means, what nationhood means, what patriotism.
It's a conversation for our country at the moment with Brexit. It's a conversation for your country. You know, we all have to weigh up that thing of how much you help people, how much you let people in, how much you let in generally, culturally, people-wise, and how much you might be giving away of yourself.
Is there another way to go out into the world with more responsibility, with love, with empathy, with, you know, listening to people? And how do we share what we have and also be affected for the betterment of ourselves as well with the rest of the world? And that's the question, I think, that the film and the story presents. It doesn't actually have an answer. It just says, what if?
And I feel like, you know, towards the end of the film, they come up with a solution that is or an outlook, a perspective, actionable kind of perspective that I think is well-rounded and kind of where I would actually stand or lean towards.
So it's kind of like, what do you think? What does the audience think? Let's keep that conversation going. Let's keep it at the highest of the agenda, and let's keep on going to see what happens.
And I hope it's a conversation that keeps happening without us calling the other side evil. You know what I mean? Because that's not helpful, actually. You know, people who disagree with us aren't necessarily evil. They just disagree with us at the moment. But if we keep talking, then we might find some middle ground, you know.